some problems because he, wasn't appealing to moderates, but it's a very red state. But that, and that combined with the comment in that debate shortly before the election means that once again, a seat that should have been held with no problem by the Republicans. Lugar would have walked into that seat. I'm not sure they would have won anything against him.
Yeah, it was almost like Bill Proxmire in the old days running Wisconsin.
So you now had in the space of 30 seconds, we've called two pickups for the Democrats. One that was competitive, another that shouldn't have been.
And throw into the fact that the Republican conservatism drove Olympia Snow out of the Senate, which is why Democrats probably have another caucus.
Gentlemen, this is so interesting. Let me just switch back to the presidential race for a second. We've got a reporter in Iowa tonight, which is one of these, at this point, I think we can say, pretty close to must win for Mitt Romney. Actually, correct? No, that's a mistake. He's in Denver. Sorry. Sometimes the voices in my head tell me funny things.
They have to be hungry first, oppressed in ways that they realize. And I think where the trouble will come will be they're going to run into trouble with Iran, with Russia, with China, and with the dollar. And I think that's going to overwhelm their power and their confidence. And I think that's how this comes to an end. I don't think it will be from gun owners or civil war, but I don't really know. I mean, you may be right.
All right. Well, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, thank you so much for the time tonight. We'll have to continue to check in with you. The website is paulcraigroberts.org. Excellent site, excellent articles. And again, you have the Joseph Stalin quote up there today. He who casts the vote decides nothing. He who counts the vote decides everything. So I guess there is a democracy within the republic in that the different crime syndicates are trying to steal as many votes as they can. So there is a type of criminal fraud free market there.
Right, that's it.
Thank you, Doctor.
Glad to be with you, Alex.
Great. Thank you, sir. Have a good night as well. We'll continue to track this right past midnight tonight. Jakari Jackson will be in next with reports. Let's get a final update from our own David Knight. Then I'm going to take a raft of phone calls before going back to Jakari Jackson. I've got my list here. Yeah, we're going to get a final report from David Knight. He's done a great job tonight tracking all this with the rest of our election research crew. These are extremists, by the way. We actually read government documents that are informed and don't have teleprompters. We can just talk for hours and hours without them. We're bad people. We don't like world government either, or unelected government. And then we're going to have Jakari Jackson giving us reports. I promise we're going to go to Itamio. I'm going to get it right the 10th time. How do you say it? Itamio. Paul, Kim, Cody, Josh, John, and others before we go to Jakari. But first, let's get an update from our own David Knight. I know we got reporters out on the street. They're filing reports to Infowars.com as well. David, a final report from you tonight, sir.
Well, Alex, it's still pretty much tied up. It looks like it's dead even. As a matter of fact, in Florida, at 85% of the vote in, it was 49.7 for Obama, 49.4 for Romney. At one point, when it was back in the 60% in, they were only separated by about 115 votes. So, in my take, I think the real story here is the voting machines and the integrity of the political process. When I look at these voting machines, I look at this article that Steve Watson wrote earlier today about all the problems that were happening. It looks to me like the voting machines are a perfect metaphor for government. You know, they're expensive. They give you the opposite of what you choose. They generally don't work, and they're easily corrupted. We've got reports from Iowa that says that machines failed to operate there for 45 minutes. In North Carolina, they had vote flipping in Greensboro and Charlotte. In Missouri, they had voters also claiming machines were flipping their votes. In Northern Virginia, they had hundreds of voters turned away because so many machines were failing to operate. Yeah, we've confirmed, just to interject, here in Austin, they've had high schools and grocery stores that have voting just where it's not working, period. Right. And that's what happened in Northern Virginia. The machines didn't work, and they only had 50 paper ballots to give people, and they were turning hundreds of people away. Same thing in Spartanburg. They twice ran out of paper ballots in South Carolina. And then all these other places where they've just got general failing, where the machines had to be reset, they didn't work for hours. That's in Ohio, and Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, Arkansas. I mean, it's a real problem. Hopefully people wake up and understand that, we don't need these expensive, non-functioning machines that are so easily tricked. I think that's a big part of this story here.
Well, they've been proven to be frauds over and over again, and how dare you say we shouldn't have these foreign-owned voting machines that they say are proprietary and have been proven to be frauds, and their own codes have been released at Diebold that it's designed for fraud, and their own engineers have gone public saying it's a fraud, and people have been convicted of fraud. I mean, that's extreme, David, that you're saying we shouldn't just completely trust these.
That's right. And you can go on the internet and just look on YouTube and look at all the examples that people have gone in and hacked machines, and they show you how easy it is to hack it, how you can, essentially transfer it, from one machine to the other, and how these viruses will essentially erase themselves so there's no trace. They'll even print out the tests correctly and then start flipping votes.
Yeah, perfectly designed for fraud on record, and they've been caught. But the government wouldn't do that, and corporations wouldn't do that. I mean, there's not powerful people, David, that want power. I mean, I think we should turn our guns in and go live in giant Agenda 21 plastic cities where a computer tells us what food and water we get, like the zeitgeist people call for.
Well, that's the vision they have for us. But, I think we had some polls that we put on Infowars.com, and one of them was asking people what they thought was the most effective way to affect change. And interestingly enough, of the people who go to InfoWars, 51% picked educating other people. It was only, if you look at, we had several options that would have revolved around the electoral process, like running for office, helping with a campaign, even putting ballot initiatives on. Altogether, those were getting about 15% of the vote. State nullification was second by itself, and it got about 12% of the vote. I guess the one thing I was surprised and disappointed in was that jury nullification was only down at about 3%. And wow. I think as we look at, that's a very important thing that not much has been talked about, because that's a very important device that's basically just kind of fallen by the wayside for citizens. When you look at how corrupt the electoral process is, and you look at how easily that is changed, in a jury, it only takes one educated person to shut down these laws and keep somebody from going to jail unjustly. You know what?
That's a great idea, because I talked about this earlier tonight. You should do a report, David, here for InfoWars. You do such great reports on all the different ways we can vote. Juries, grand juries, voting with our dollars, voting with our speech, outside of the system they've taken over. Because you notice they're doing everything they can to shut down, take Prop 37. How dare you be able to know what's in your food? Let's put a blindfold on you. I think that's a very important report to do of what we can do outside of this fraudulent system. I know you've been working about 13 hours today so far. We've got Jakari Jackson coming up with more reports in the chair you're in, but I look forward to having both of you tomorrow with whatever information you collate popping in on the daytime radio show, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Thank you so much for your work today, David.
Great. Thank you, Alex.
All right, there goes David Knight. I'm telling you, I am really liking this, where I'm in this studio and they're in that studio. This is really cool. And at beta test tonight, folks, we have done this whole thing. It would have gone off with a hitch if we would have had a few issues right at the start. But again, very, 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 very excited about what's happening. Aaron Dykes will be popping in as well. Let's get to some of your phone calls, and then we're going to get an update on the news coming up in about 15, 20 minutes from Jakari Jackson before we get Lou Rockwell on, because see, we're already getting behind. Perhaps we're going to get Jakari on then during that break after Lou Rockwell. I guess that's what's going to happen right there. So we'll move that up to about get Rockwell on at about 9:30 Central, and then when he leaves us right at 10, get Jakari in for his first update. And I'm going to say this, because I won't be operable tomorrow if I don't leave here about midnight. I do want to be here for Dr. Tarpley at 11:30 Central, and I want to continue. I mean, I like to stay up all night and call the election. Problem is, it'll probably still be going tomorrow, so I have to be here for the radio and have some sleep. But I do want to just tell the crew that if you guys want to have a big round table in here or wherever, we're welcome to that after midnight if we want to take calls and stuff, because we should just be here just taking call after call after call. Okay, I've said this like 8 different ways in the hour the person's been holding, and we're going to go to them now. Itamio in California. Did I get that right?
Itamio. Close.
I have a small brain, but great name, sir. I apologize. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I just wanted to make a comment on the geopolitical sphere we have right now. I think that this whole situation is it's ridiculous. And I have to agree with Max Kaiser when he said, why would I vote? It's just a dog and pony show. I think voting at the local level and at the state levels are far more important. And I myself have to say that at the federal level, it's just all a shell game. I mean, if you vote in Hitler, you still get Hitler. It's really not making much of a difference. Well, at least I voted. Well, you still have a murderous dictator.
Exactly, and every president gets worse, and I'm always thinking it's this person that's bad. It's that the system is getting away with more and more, and so I see Obama just getting away with stuff. I mean, you know, we've had Christopher Hedges on, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning super liberal, but a real liberal, and he says Obama is twice as bad as Bush. And, you know, Bush was worse than Clinton in many ways. And now Obama is worse. And, I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we're meant to think it's just presidents because they can come and go. Meanwhile, the power structure continues to move forward. And so the question is, how do we get around that? Because even though I'm aware, I'm the guy that came up with the term left-right paradigm, I know all this, I'm still desperate. I'm like hoping for some change. I'm wishing things would get better. I didn't endorse Obama, but I said I hope he keeps some of his promises. Some of them are good. You know, some of his platform is good, like ending torture, ending wars. And now it's just we've gotten to the point of we know it's only going to get worse. So what do we do?
Well, in my opinion, I mean, the entire system has to change. I mean, you can have someone like Ron Paul who can come in for 8 years, and I mean, it'll be terrific. He may completely reform the way our government works. But then the next election, you can have some Satanist who comes in and completely destroys everything within 2 years by getting us into a nuclear war. So I think the system itself and the people need to change. I myself have outlined a changed government system where there wouldn't be any elections, but at the upper level of government, it will be professional. You know, where are our astrophysicists? Where are our marine biologists, our computer programmers, our mechanical engineers?
Oh, yeah, no, listen, nobody was perfect in any country, but 200 years ago, whether it was Japan or Europe or Mexico, the rock stars were scientists and inventors. People knew, hey, a guy that figures out a better engine or a lady that figures out a better plant or George Washington Carver that figures out a better way to grow crops, they're going to make our life better. That's the rock star. And now they've made our rock stars, fake James Bond and all this other garbage, and it's a total distraction. And that's why it freaks me out when people call up here saying, oh, Alex, you're great. Hey, I'm not great. Humanity's great, and God empowering us is great. Wow, did Romney just surge ahead? Is that new numbers? I just see some new numbers there. I tell you, this is killing me. Have you ever seen an election where it's back and forth like this? They are really rigging this to make us think it's real. God bless you, sir, from California. I appreciate your call. Paul in Maryland, you're on the air ahead of our next guest that is coming on the broadcast. It'll be Lou Rockwell. Go ahead, Paul.
All right. I wanted to say, first off, God bless you. I've been listening to you since like 2009 for real. And I think you talk about like a lot of good things, but one thing you said like mention is, these people that's elite, they're really under the covers, like, in spirit wise, they're the fallen angels and their offspring, the Nephilim or Anunnaki or whatever other name they're
I'll say this, they aren't like us, buddy. They aren't like us. No, I hear you. They're not like us. Let me tell you something. I would die right now before I do something to an innocent child. A normal person wants to protect little children. These globalists love to hurt them. And so, yes, they're not like us. You can call them whatever you want to call them. They're not batting for team humanity, as Gerald Celente says.